Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Kerbal Space Program in the Interplanetary Chase. You might recognise this vessel. If you're a long-time viewer of this series, you recognise this, well of course it says at the top doesn't it, but the Kerbal Orbital Lab Fuel Storage. Now the reason we've got this is because, put simply, the Kerbal Orbital Lab is begging for a refuel. It's got basically no fuel left, and of course, this vessel has been proven to work, albeit it was very close last time we tried to put this thing into orbit, hence why you are currently seeing me strap some extra boosters to it because, you know, if it doesn't work, add more boosters, right? And of course, we've already put a brand new docking port on the top there, and here we go. So, a little bit wobbly on the initial ascents, but I think that's to be expected really, given this thing's pure mass, right? As we get rid of those hammer boosters. I believe those are the hammer boosters. But regardless, as you can see, we've pulled back my throttle on the liquid fuel because those solid rocket boosters are still pushing us along. We've still got plenty of life as we decouple those. We seem to have a little bit of a graphics bug with the Vapor Cones mod, where I believe we were breaking Mach as we were leaving the atmosphere, which as a result means that those Vapor Cones haven't disappeared for some reason, but no problem. It's still perfectly functional, so here we go. Obviously, we've launched at the correct time, well, more or less the correct time, to attempt to, as you can see, rendezvous with the Kerbal Orbital Lab, which, as you can see, is actually on top of your screens, just about to phase out there. And, of course, as it stands, we are trying to circularise, but not doing a very good job. So bad of a job, in fact, that we're actually starting to fall back down into the atmosphere. So, of course, we just need to push our periapsis up from in the atmosphere to couple that stage, which we no longer need. I mean, actually, we might not need to do any more burning because our apoapsis is very, very high, which means that we're kind of unintentionally performing a much-needed error break here to bring our apoapsis kind of back down to where it needs to be by doing this, by skipping through the atmosphere. But regardless, that's done. So just go to time warp to apoapsis now and bring our periapsis up and out of the atmosphere, or at least it's hoping. And here we go. And that's above 70, which means we're all good. And look at that, we actually have a very, very close intersect. So I think we're going to time warp to this and see if that remains as we attempt to find the station. Apparently it's very close to us now. And here it is, 16 kilometers off to our left. So just going to burn towards it a little bit. Make sure that we don't end up reaching our periapsis, because again that would mean we'd fall back into the atmosphere with some of these wacky manoeuvres, right? So, point retrograde, finalise the burn, match relative velocities. It's a little bit finicky with an engine this powerful though. I didn't think about that initially, but regardless, here we are. And of course, from now, we just need to find the appropriate docking port and get ourselves nicely stuck to the station, right? So, here we go. Open up our docking port, make a quick save, just in case anything goes overly wrong, which if it did, of course, you wouldn't be watching this. So everything goes okay so far. Kill our velocity relative to the station using our monopropellant thrusters here. Wonderful. Just make sure we are nicely aligned, because we are not aligned at all as it stands. Switch back to the docking modes. And as you can see, we have the docking port set as our target. We're just aligning the docking with the station itself, because I seem to forget that this thing has a lot of RCS power. Not only that, but I believe the initial vessel has actually run out of monopropellant, so this is a necessary evil, but as you can see, it is working, albeit slightly off-centre, but here we go. Almost docked, just increasing the docking acquisition force, so there we go. So, let's refill the stations, shall we? We might be here a little while with how finicky the refuelling system is. But as you can see, I do have somewhat of an idea as to how to do this, although we're not having much luck really. So ultimately, I think we do decide to start refilling each tank individually, rather than, of course, just getting rid of every single bit of fuel in the station itself. Having said that, it is thankfully relatively easily done, owing to the design of the refueler having all those rings around the initial, I suppose, axle, so to speak, which means that each tank is quite easy to select, and as a result, quite easy to empty into symmetric tanks on the station, which is what we're doing here. Hence why there's 2 pinned windows at the moment. So I think we're almost done with regards to getting rid of our fuel. Just having a look to see if there's anything we missed. I think the only thing we did miss is, of course, a fuel tank for our rocket engine, which we kind of need. So here we go. I think, as it stands, we're basically done. So time to undock the refueler vessel, give ourselves a little bit of a push away from the station, and bid for station farewell. So, of course, we're going to retract our antennas now that we have an apoapsis, or periapsis even, within Kerbin's atmosphere. And we can decouple that. That should hopefully burn up, and the actual empty refueler vessel will I'll probably just end up splashing down. Thankfully we've done it over the ocean and not over land. As you can see, falling down, still have a vapour cone bug, but whatever, and crash. There we go. So, mission success. As you can see, the Kerbal Orbital Lab has a little bit more fuel than it did before, and I think it's high time we put this to good use. Ladies and gents, we are taking the Kerbal Orbital Lab to the moon. Reason being is because, put simply, I think we could possibly send a vessel to the moon to collect some ore, obviously for the Kerbal Orbital Lab's conversion unit, or whatever you want to call it. Not only that, but to also collect some science from a biome of which we haven't visited yet. Furthermore, with some new experiments, because of course our science game has definitely gone up since we've last gone to the moon. So maybe bring that back to the Kerbal Orbital Lab, to maybe feed it to the mobile processing unit so it has plenty of data to passively generate us some science with. And ultimately send that back to Kerbin. And of course, anything that doesn't fit in the orbital lab, we could just return and kind of take it as science as you otherwise normally would. So that is the plan, at least. It's a little bit ambitious, but then again, it's nowhere near as ambitious as our Duna trip, where obviously we managed to get a lander on both moons and retrieve the station back into a Kerbin capture. So here we go. As you can see, our periapsis is relatively high. We have accidentally time warped past the periapsis though, so this might be a little bit of an interesting orbit. But as long as we can capture ourselves in the moon's sphere of influence, then that won't be a problem. As you can see, we have managed to do that. I think we'll have try and get a relatively circular orbit of around 100 by 100 kilometers. So once again, just going to our periapsis here, which is currently 99 kilometers. We just need to bring our periapsis, apoapsis, sorry, down from outer space, as you can see. I keep on confusing the apoapsis and periapsis, and it's very annoying because I know perfectly what both of them mean. They just come out wrong, but whatever, no problems. As you can see, we're in a relatively okay 100 by 99 orbit. It's circular-ish, although we might need to have a look at adjusting our orbital inclination, because as you can see, it is a little bit wonky. So of course, let's try and find our ascending or descending nodes, although at any rate we might just be able to do it at our apoapsis here, just to make things a bit easier. It might not be the most efficient way, although I'm not particularly concerned if we're only going to be refueling this thing, so ultimately we'll have it in as well, right? And of course, if needs be, we can always send a rescue mission to the moon. I doubt that will be the case. But here we go. So let's see if we can get our station pointing towards our new manoeuvre nodes. It's nice having so much reaction wheel authority, so we don't need to do these turns with our monopropellant thrusters as we complete this burn. As you can see, inclination nice and flat, and it's now matched that of Kerbin. And just going to keep this pointing normal for now. And of course, we need to take a little look at our orbital lab, or better yet, before we do, not orbital lab, sorry, but the materials bay, which you can see is in front of Bill here. Little bit of a design flaw that we need to fix with Bill being our engineer. We need to turn around the antennas, of which we placed incorrectly in the vehicle assembly building. So there we go. With that done, that now looks a lot nicer. Functions the same, but that's not the point. Functional as ever, ugly, but not so ugly now. Wonderful. So with that done, I think it's about time that we start to build the vessel that will get the science, get the ore, and of course bring it to the orbital lab. So, before anything, we need, and we've been meaning to do this for a very long time, to update our kind of science modules, because of course we've been bringing these on more or less every single mission we've been on, except we simply have not had the opportunity to upgrade the science equipment. So that's the first one done. Now we need to build a nice 2.5 meter one for our bigger vessels. So initially I was maybe thinking of putting something resembling a fuselage inside to obviously attach things to, including some RTGs. Now we have those for passive electrical generation. Although problem with that is there's so many attachment points that it doesn't really know where to go. So maybe Oscar B fuel tank inside, put a nose cone on the ends, although as you can see that just kind of clips through the battery on the bottom, so we may reconsider that. But let's have a look. We have inline mystery goo, maybe not. We might think about a Science Junior materials processing bay. I think we will do that. Pop another battery on top just to keep it all nice and secure. Make sure everything's nice and auto-strutted. Maybe a heat shield underneath that. As you can see, we do kind of clip it through, but it closes off the bottom attachment nodes, which reduces drag, so that's all good. Maybe an antenna here, just so we, just in case we forget to put them on the actual ship itself, that won't be a problem. 4 mystery goo units. We have some thermometers. Lovely. What else do we have here? I think those are gravioli, or magnetometers? Magnetometers and gravioli, here we go. Let's not forget some batteries and mirror modes. I know we already have 2 absolutely massive ones, but more power is never a bad thing. Speaking of which, we can attach 1 RTG, because of course we have that now. So that is some more passive power generation without the need for solar panels. As we reroute everything to the top part. And here we go. So now of course we can crack on with building the actual vessel. So we have a, I think that's a Mark III command pods, obviously Clampotron docking ports, our brand new science bay underneath, very fancy I know, and of course we need some experiment storage, so we're just going to attach that to the cupola, and heat shield at the bottom. Wonderful. Now we need to think about, firstly, adding some kind of decoupler underneath the heat shield, because at the moment, of course, everything will just attach to that, which wouldn't be good. So there we go, decoupler. We'll get rid of all the oxidizer, because as you can tell, ladies and gents, we are taking this with atomic propulsion nuclear motors. I need something to pull the ore tanks or some additional fuel off to the side, and I think we're going to use these structural beams. So here we go. And of course we can kind of clip those inwards just a little bit. The only reason I'm doing this is to prevent part clipping between the 2 stages. And as you can see, little jet fuel tank there. And of course maybe some nose cones on top. I don't think we could put anything particularly useful there. And of course we've almost forgot the parachutes on the cupola, which will just fail this mission before it really starts. So there we go. Engine plates on the bottom, boat tail design. Maybe some SAS modules, although I think we will end up getting rid of those. Here we go then. 2 nuclear propulsion motors. Lovely. And as you can see, we do have a bit more room to play with underneath it. So I'm thinking maybe another fuel tank, or maybe another ore tank actually. And as you can see, I think that Looks quite nice. We'll get rid of those reaction wheels and replace them with RCS thrusters though, because this thing does need to dock, and that's not going to be particularly easy without monopropellants. I know the Cupola does have some already, but it's not enough to be practical really. So here we go, and we need to connect the fuel lines between the structural parts, because of course that part doesn't have cross feeds, so it's not able to feed into the inner tank. So that's all done. Now let's have a look at placing some actual RCS thrusters. This is the design of which we're kind of thinking of, although we might need to adjust it because of course we need landing legs as well. Well, it's not really a lander without landing legs, and not to mention the fact that we also need drills, because of course we need to get some ore, hopefully, from the Bermuda surface. And how are we going to do that if we don't have any drills? In hindsight, I think there are better places to put these, but of course you'll see the design that we ultimately end up going for. So at the moment they're on the sides. I think we'll get rid of that. Maybe just attach one to the back. I suppose you could call it the back. Replace those landing legs. I believe we also need to replace the RCS thrusters we got rid of. There we go. And as you can see, this does look a little bit silly, but it was the only thing I could think of at the time. So hey ho, let's not forget some struts to make sure that, you know, it kind of looks like it's supposed to be there. And here we go, just offset them a little bit, make them look a bit neater. And that is absolutely lovely. Cool. So let's add some Gigantor solar panels, because as far as I remember, the drills are very power hungry. And an antenna for good measure, because of course we only have the Reflectron 16 in the cargo bay. Magnetometer boom, because I don't think we've used this experiment yet on the moon, so that'll be more than welcome. And so far so good. Bit of an unconventional design. It's a little bit Kerbal, but ultimately it should work. Now, speaking of working, we need to fit this all into a fairing somehow, because of course we've built the lander, now we need to get it to where it needs to go. So 5 meter fairing, having some difficulty getting the original or initial kind of fairing going, so we'll put a smaller decoupler just so it doesn't clip, and that has made things a little bit easier for us. Wonderful. Looks a little bit weird, but again, we don't intend on keeping the fairing, so all's well that ends well. So with that done, now we can start building the actual rockets, the fun bits. So here we go. We're looking for the S4 tanks because quite simply there's nothing else that would work. We are already using the Mark 5, or not Mark 5, sorry, but the 5 meter fairing. So ultimately there's nothing bigger. So 4 Terrier engines, boat tail design within the engine plates, looking good. And of course, little decoupler underneath. Move that up, and let's add another fairing to close off the engine plate, like so. There we go. 1000 detachment force, 2 sides, and clamshell ejection. Lovely. Just strut that up to make sure there's no structural failures in this particular part of the rocket. Let's add a nice big engine cluster at the bottom now, shall we? So I was thinking of one of these Corgi motors, maybe Rhino. But ultimately, I think we do decide on the Rhino because, of course, it looks quite nice. It's meant to be there. Maybe some Cheetah engines on the sides because those are very effective in a vacuum. This thing's initial thrust to weight, based on that, isn't going to be particularly good, although it is going to be very efficient, which means, of course, if we can attach some nice big solid rocket boosters to assist us out the atmosphere, such as these ones, then if we manage to get this thing outside of a common line, we're set. As of course we just strap them all up, make sure they stay attached as of course they should. Not forgetting some winglets for stability, and of course serpotrons to pull them away from the vessel when we're done with them. And I believe we are almost there, ladies and gents. Just finalising some staging bits, and of course adding some launch clamps. And as for crew, we will be bringing our new hire Javelin Shadow Kerman, Ivanka as a pilot and Colton as our onboard engineer. Although as we go for launch, you'll see that I do quickly jump back to the vehicle assembly building, as there is a structural failure at the bottom engine cluster owing to where we put the launch clamp. So we'll just reposition those and give this another go. So here we go, guys. I do need to add that this is actually Javelin's first mission as well. I believe Ivanka is the most experienced Kerbal. Having said that, Colton has gone to Minmus, if I remember correctly, so maybe he can provide the rest of the crew with some advice with regards to visiting Kerbin's moons. And here we go. SRBs are out of fuel to get rid of those. And we're down to the liquid fuel stage, or at least the initial liquid fuel lifter stage. And as you can see, we have plenty of fuel left, but the thrust is abysmal. Although our apoapsis is thankfully just above Kerbin's atmosphere now, so that's not a problem. And of course we can get rid of any fairings now, because of course that is just additional weight of which we don't particularly want nor need. So here we go, just keeping the nose pointing at the prograde marker as we do a magnetometer report. Lovely, we'll transmit that. And while we're at it, extrude our solar panels. Good stuff. The whole point of this at the moment is just to bring our periapsis away from the floor, because we are slowly bringing our apoapsis up, but that's no good if ultimately we're just going to re-enter the atmosphere and burn up, is it? So here we go then. Apoapsis is almost at 100 kilometers. Periapsis is negative 45 kilometers. So of course we're just going to coast closer to the apoapsis to circularize, and we should be set as we do a couple more experiments here. Absolutely lovely. Okay, so we just need to point progrades, fire the motor for a little bit longer. And we are now in orbit around Kerbin, 102 by 98 kilometers, 4 kilometer offset, but that's fine because we're only going to be leaving it to get ourselves a nice little moon encounter, aren't we? So no fuss, just following my own rules of course, when you see the moon come up from the horizon, you just burn progrades and eventually you will end up with an encounter. So here we go. I'm trying to swap to our manoeuvre nodes, but of course I haven't made one yet, have I? So here we go. Now we just need to bring our periapsis to roughly the same altitude as the station, being, what, 9,900 kilometers? Because of course, I don't know if you guys saw, but when we were in the vehicle assembly building, we actually filled up the ore tanks. So we have, what, 1,200 units of ore already with us. And of course, what that will allow us to do is subsequently dock with the Kerbin Orbital Lab in its orbit around the moon, hence why we're attempting to match it. Feed that all to the convertitron and convert it into monopropellant, liquid fuel, whatever we might need to basically refill our tanks to assist us with lunar landing, where of course we can gather some science, mine some more ore, and of course the idea is to take that back up to the orbital lab, get some more fuel, and use that to return both vessels back to Kerbin. Of course, with the orbital lab it will be a bit difficult because we want to do that only after the mobile processing unit is finished. I believe it's a little bit more effective at processing data from the body of which it is currently orbiting. So of course we'll leave it around the moon for as long as it's doing its kind of experiments here. But ultimately that's the plan. We'll see how it goes. And we do need to be careful because these are manned missions. So of course, fingers crossed. I'm pretty sure I've given this thing enough fuel. As of course we are slowly moving our nose to our manoeuvre nodes. There's a distinct lack of reaction wheels on the lander stage, which was entirely my fault. It was something I missed. But no matter, as we do some experiments, we keep these as we are in the moon's sphere of influence now, so we can feed that to the lab as and when we get there. And of course just circularising now. And that is 100 by 100. Lovely. Once again, we do need to perform an inclination change at our descending nodes here, just to match orbital planes. We want this to be equatorial, as is the station, but of course we're a little bit wonky as it stands. But thankfully that's nothing we can't correct. Once again, just attempting to point towards our manoeuvre. This thing turns like an absolute tank, so of course I think we do just kind of give up and fire our monopropellant thrusters there just for a brief second. And here we go. We have got our nose pointing to where it needs to go, so just go to time warp, gravity scan, keep our data. And here we go then, perform that manoeuvre. And I believe our orbital planes are more or less matched. So looking at this, the station is in front of us. So if we're going to get closer to it, we need to reduce our periapsis to make that particular section of our orbit quicker, and obviously reduce our orbital duration, essentially making us faster and able to catch the station. I believe this is how it works. So let's put that into practice, shall we? We need to point progrades. Oh, not prograde, sorry, but retrogrades, point backwards in comparison to our orbit. And bring our periapsis down to about 30 kilometres. And as you can see, that has actually worked quite well, as we do have a bit of a graphical bug, but we'll get this science out of the way first. As we keep our data, EVA report, lovely. Quick save and load back in to fix the graphical issue. I must apologise, as we collect all of our data currently. And as you can see, we are relatively close. If we can try and spot the target from where we are, then we might be okay. Of course, just going orbital, pointing prograde here, because we do need to kill our velocity. And of course, I believe we're a little bit too far ahead, as you can see, so we're going to push our apoapsis up, and we now have a very, very close encounter, which is absolutely fantastic. So here we go then, we're only 2 kilometres away from the station, so we can get rid of our lifter stage, switch to our orbital manoeuvring stage, or whatever you can call this. It's a little bit overkill, as you can see. We have one of those massive S4 tanks with only 4 Terrier engines. The thrust they provide is not stellar, but it gets the job done, as you can see. And it was a good idea putting RCS thrusters on that stage as well, clearly, because that means that we're not going to have as much adverse rotation during translation for docking as we otherwise would do. I thought ahead, I was thinking, have I over-engineered this? I think I have done, but I suppose at the end of the day, it's kind of in the Kerbal spirit. It is the way of the Kerbal to engineer things, isn't it? So of course we have our autopilot keeping our docking port pointed at our target, which is of course the station docking port, which means that from now, of course, we just need to kill our relative velocity to it, and it should make docking relatively simple as the magnets start to kick in, although we are at a little bit of a wonky angle here, aren't we? So let's correct this, and we're going to switch to the station just to roll it over and hopefully finalise the docking here, increase the acquisition force again because I'm lazy, and there we go. Wonderful. Oh, it's not laziness, it's efficiency, isn't it? So there we go. Less fuel, more magnetism. Love it. And as you can see, transferring the ore to the small holding tank in the station, which is actually not necessary, seeing as these docking ports have crossfeed enabled. And we're just waiting for the ore to run out. As you can see, we did have the IRSU on monopropellant. Now it's on liquid fuel. As we just get rid of all the ore, stop the IRSU now that we've run out of ore, and of course now it's time for some fuel balancing, which, as you guys all know, is my favourite thing in the game. So here we go. We need to firstly transfer some monopropellant from the station, of course, into the lander, because you kind of need that to manoeuvre. So there we go, that's done. Now, of course, we can get rid of the fuel from the orbital manoeuvring stage on the lander. Because, well, quite simply, we're not going to be using it, are we? So, we'll drain the fuel out of there. We don't need the oxidizer, hence why I'm just draining the fuel out of here, and we'll just decouple that, get rid of it, because at any rate, it will just be additional mass. So that's empty, wonderful. So we'll just find the decoupler for that, and fire you away. Wonderful. Gravity scan, lovely. Add that to the lab. And transmit some more data here. And we'll just add everything we have to the lab at the moment, although I believe the lab is now actually quite full. It's got no more room for data, which means we have more data to keep and more science to return to Kerbin. So, with that done, of course, it is about time that we attempt to land. And of course, we are also full fuel on the lander because, of course, we didn't use any fuel to dock. So here we go. Then close the docking port on the top, and burn retrogrades, and let's try and push ourselves down to the lunar surface, shall we? So here we go. I gotta say, I love the design of this thing. It actually looks very like spaceshipy. It doesn't look overly clunky. It kind of looks like a plane, like a space plane almost. And these thrusters aren't particularly strong, but they are quite efficient. So we might have a bit of a close call when it comes to suicide burning into our landing, but we'll wait and see. Our Kerbals are looking quite happy. Javelin is overwhelmed at the fact that his first mission is to Kerbin's moon. Colton is a bit unimpressed. I imagine he's saying, I've gone to Kerbin's second moon, which is a lot further away. Why am I kind of here? And here we go. This is going to be very close, as our surface speed is slowly decreasing at 500 meters above ground level. And we only just managed to pull it off. So this ground isn't exactly flat, so we might need to find another landing spot. I may be thinking the side of the crater, maybe around here. I mean, this isn't flat either, but it's landable. So we'll see if we slide at all. So we touch down. We can do all of our experiments, which is nice. Although, as you can see, we are sliding. I'm wondering if maybe deploying the mining drill will kind of stop us, anchor us to the ground as we do all of our experiments here. Collect all. Love it. Let's deploy the drill, shall we? So into the ground it goes, and annoyingly we are still sliding, and as such we're unable to time warp as well. So ultimately we will need to relocate again, which is good. Just getting through all this fuel that we need, so we're going to retract the drill. Push ourselves away from the surface and find somewhere else to land. Somewhere else for us to collect some ore. Maybe here? This looks somewhat flatter. Nope. I think we are still sliding. So third time's the charm, right, ladies and gents? Up we go. And let's find somewhere else to land. Maybe beyond this ridge, or maybe even on it, because that looks nice and flat in comparison. As we finalise our speed reduction, I suppose you could call it, and touchdown. So, we're no longer sliding, thank goodness. So let's deploy our drill and start our surface harvester. Now, we are going to be here for quite a while. Our Kerbals are having to ration snacks, as we are having to ration fuel, having a look at our Delta V. We are getting some passive science in from, of course, the breaking ground sites we've set up. And it's not much, but again, it's science, which is the whole point of setting them up. And that is, I think, about as much ore as I've got enough patience to get. So we need to push ourselves back up. And of course, from now, we need to get ourselves back into moon orbit. Although we are actually currently going the wrong way even. So let's correct that, shall we? So, we need to reach a 100 by 100 lunar orbit and dock with the orbital lab to transfer, or not transfer, but transform our stored ore into fuel in order to get both vessels back home. Now, as you can see, apoapsis about 20 kilometers. Looking at our fuel, I'm not particularly convinced that we're going to make the lab, so I think in order to prevent our Kerbals from being killed by a crash into the lunar surface, we're just going to finish off our circularization here and take things from there. You can see that's actually where our rover landed, because we planted a flag just in front of us on the surface there, as you can see. And we are now out of fuel. Our periapsis is still negative, which is not good. So a bit of a disaster, really. I'm just thinking of what we can do. We do have some monopropellant left, so let's coast up to our apoapsis to make this last push as efficient as we can get it. As you can see, periapsis is now at 0 and is now positive. So we have circularized. We just need to make sure that it's somewhat high up as to not crash into any mountain ranges. 22 by 12 as it stands, still going up. 22 by 20. Okay, let's go up to our apoapsis once again. Bit of a graphical bug. So we will just reload after doing some science errors, you can see. And ultimately we are a bit stranded now. It's a bit of a disaster. But we are coming up to the end of today's episode, so thank you guys very much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want to see what happens to these guys, and I will hopefully catch you guys in the next one.